All right, NBA 2K rating recap for November 25th, 2025. Only 3 games last night, so I'm going to do a little bit of a deeper dive on all these teams and also just review my roster philosophy in general throughout the video. So we're going to start off with the Washington Wizards. They beat the Atlanta Hawks 132 to 113, ending their 14-game losing streak. Wizards moved to 2-15 on the season. Game was over before it even started, as Atlanta just came out really flat. They were down 21 after 8 minutes. Washington had their biggest offensive explosion of the season, ending the first quarter 45 to 23. They were 15 of 23 from the field during the quarter, 65%, and 7 of 12 on threes, 58%. So absolutely blitzed them. The Wizards overall for the game shot 57% and were 19 of 38 from three, 50%. A couple bets with big performances, which we kind of had anticipated with this team, that players like CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton would help them get a couple wins. They'd be a little more respectable this year. Hasn't happened yet so far this year, but it did in this game, finally. CJ McCollum with a season high 46 points, 17 of 25 from the field, 10 of 13 from three, tied the Wizards franchise record for threes made in a game. And then Chris Middleton, 10 points, had a season high 12 assists. For him, also season high in minutes with 31. He was a plus 34 in this game. Came into this game with only a 14% assist rate. This performance moved it up to 18%. Last year, he was at 26%. So I'm surprised he hasn't had more games like this one, as when he's like initiating offense for the team, it allows CJ McCollum to sort of look for his shot rather than be a playmaker and a scorer on the team. And then Corey Kispert, he got the start in this one with Keyshawn George out. He had 19 points, 4 of 8 from three. He was 4 for 4, or I think 4 for 5 during that first quarter explosion. He had 16 points in the first quarter. He and CJ McCollum combined for 8 of 9 from 3, so they absolutely took over that first quarter. Alex Sarr also had a really solid offensive game, 27 points, 11 of 15 from the field, 11 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks. And then worth noting for the Wiz, Trey Johnson also out for multiple weeks with a hip injury, which I guess led to more minutes. Aside from George also being out for this one, it just allowed Kispert and CJ to really get going, I think, knowing that there wasn't another player coming in for them. Might lead to a little more consistency from Bub Carrington moving forward, as they don't have a ton of backcourt depth with Trey sidelined. Let's actually go over some of the Wizards' ratings now, the ones at least that I have in the book. I've got 5 Wizard ratings in so far. Basically, they're starting 5 minus Koulibaly and then Trey Johnson. So Alex Sarr, I have him at 83. Same rating as where 2K's got him at. I have him essentially as my... I'm going to go through the player rankings for all of these guys, like where they rank positionally league-wide, so you can kind of get an idea of basically how my rating scale works and how it kind of differs a little bit from 2K, even though it's the same. So an 80 overall is essentially like what an average starter is. It's what I deem like an 80 to an 85 is a starting caliber player. We're going to see position average for a center. The average starter is going to be an 81. Now that's the, of all starters. So you're going to have players who are with lower ratings than this who are also starters. 81 is just basically the median point. If we go look at other positions, you could see CJ McCollum is an 81. Technically, he's a starting caliber player, right? But he's actually well below the position average, which is an 85. Basically, an average starting point guard is an all-star, caliber player. Like, if we look down the list, I mean, there's so many guys like Trae Young, Ja Morant, etc. Those are those guys in that like 15 range. Those guys have all been like multi-time all-stars in their careers. I guess for Ja Morant, just the one time. But needless to say, CJ McCollum, he's going to come in as... So Sarr, I have him as the number 18 center in the NBA. CJ, I have him as the number 28 point guard, which is essentially the point where a lot of quality backups start to show up. For example, I have A.J. Mitchell, Trey Jones, Anthony Simons, all these guys at an 81. Currently, I don't have any backups who are above that, but last year, Sixth Man of the Year winner Peyton Pritchard was one of those guys that showed up a little higher. Ty Jerome also, who was in the six-man running, he was up in that range as well. So that's essentially like borderline fringe all-star for CJ McCollum. Normally a borderline all-star would not sorry not borderline all-star borderline starter is essentially what CJ McCollum is. Normally a borderline starter would be in the 70s for like you're going to see with guys like Chris Middleton, Kispert, Koulibaly, etc. Those guys are more borderline. Like they'd start for some teams, come off the bench in other situations. For McCollum, he's a borderline starter just because the quality at the position is so much higher. Moving along to Keyshawn George, also an 81 overall. I've got him as the number 25 small forward in the NBA. Both of these guys, by the way, are +1 from where the 2K Sports roster has them at. Chris Middleton, 79 overall, which is +3 from where 2K's got him at. They've got him down at a 76. For me, that just doesn't really make a ton of sense. I have him as the number 34 power forward, so below average starter, to be clear. 3 points below the position average. And like again, as I referenced before, Middleton is starting because it's the Washington Wizards. There are a lot of other teams he would not start for. I imagine when he's playing for another team after the trade deadline, that he will be coming off the bench most likely. And then Trey Johnson is 77 overall, +1. I have him as the number 50 shooting guard in the NBA. So Middleton, you'll note, 79. He's in that 30-ish range of players at his position. We go down 2 points more, and already players are you're looking at players in like the 50s in terms of like where they rank positionally. So he's a good backup, but he's not in like the top half of backups per se. And I haven't done Koulibaly's rating yet. He missed some time with injury. Out of all of the starters on Washington, I kind of deemed him like the lowest priority, but him and Kispert are the next two guys that I am going to work on. Actually, Cam Whitmore is probably the highest priority edit, as he went from being like a not really in Houston's rotation to he's like the consistent backup for Chris Middleton, and probably should be in that 77-ish range. So those are the 3 to 4 main guys I still have to flesh out for Washington. Let's go on over to the Atlanta Hawks, who dropped to 11-8 on the year with this loss. Unlucky sevens for Jalen Johnson, 7 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 of 12 from the field, 5 turnovers. This was easily his worst offensive game of the season. Kristaps Porzingis had 22 points and 8 rebounds versus former team. Onyeka Okongwu has been really good off the bench all year. 20 points. He was 3 for 6 on 3, just continuing, to provide double. I believe 5 total threes made between the two centers, Porzingis and Okongwu, so they have that stretch 5 element that they previously didn't. 14th game without Trae Young. We should get an update on him soon. He went down on November 1st and would be reevaluated 4 weeks from then. So November 29th, which is Saturday, is going to be the date where we might hear an update on when he's going to return. They're currently 9-5 without Trae, whereas 2-3 with them, so they have played well. You may notice that I moved Dyson Daniels to point guard. I think this makes sense, at least while Trae is out. I think this ends up being his long-term position also. We'll see how long Trae remains a member of the Hawks. But essentially, like, I swapped like him and Luke Kennard's position. Like, the really weird thing about Kennard is like he's really a shooting guard, but he also has to be staggered from Trae Young. Like, these guys are both too small and not good enough defensively that you can't play them together. So even though like Kennard is definitely a shooting guard stylistically, like when Trae is healthy, you like almost have to change Kennard's position to point guard just to ensure that they won't play together. He's like functionally Trae's backup when healthy. But otherwise, like the lineup that they have been running for most of the year has been Dyson Daniels next to Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And I wouldn't exactly be against Nickeil Alexander-Walker playing next to Trae Young, as he's obviously a better shooter than Dyson Daniels. Not as good of a defender, but still good enough that he's going to be a plus next to Trae Young. Maybe Zachary Risache is the player who would maybe hit the bench in that scenario with Daniels, or at least, Daniels is actually bigger than Alexander Walker. I think he's more of a 3 than he is a 2, if anything, at 6'7". But anyway, knocking out the Hawks ratings, I have their top 10 essentially in the books. We got Trae at an 88 overall, is the number 16 point guard in the NBA, 10th in the Eastern Conference. So even then, even when he is healthy, he's not really a contender for like the All-Star team, at least based on as long as everybody's healthy. Obviously, we have guys like Tyrese Halliburton, etc., who aren't playing this year that like factor in to that. But number 16 point guard in the NBA, even though he's an 88 overall, just again how deep the position is. Whereas we go to, by the way, no change from the 2K roster in terms of the overall rating. Jalen Johnson, 88. That's a +1 from where 2K's got him at. I have him as the number 7 power forward in the NBA, number 4 in the Eastern Conference, behind Giannis, Jason Tatum, and Evan Mobley. Tatum obviously out for the year with his Achilles injury, so really Jalen's a top 3 power forward in the East, which means he's contending for an Eastern Conference All-Star selection. Number 7 power forward in the NBA again. There's so much talent at the 1. At the 4, he's actually adding more to the team because he's in the top half of the position average wise. As for that's 6 points above average, whereas Trae is only 3 points above average. So he's just providing more of an advantage for the team relative to other teams. Kristaps Porzingis, 86 overall. That's a +1 from 2K. Number 10 center in the NBA. Number 6 in the Eastern Conference. So kind of on the outside of like that All-Star conversation. He might make the team if there are lots of injuries. But Porzingis is also one of those guys who doesn't avoid injuries himself. He hasn't been playing back-to-backs and stuff like that. So he's not really going to be a consideration there. But in terms of talent, he is an all-star. So on the lower end of the all-star scale, which is like 85 to 89. Onyeka Okongwu has really been impressive this year. Number 17 center in the NBA, despite coming off the bench. He is the number 9 center in the Eastern Conference. So he could very easily take over as the starting center for the Hawks moving forward if they decide not to re-sign Porzingis in the offseason. Or they could easily trade him to another team and get a lot of value back. We'll see what the Hawks end up doing with their roster as they build it out. Obviously, they have a really big decision to make with Trae Young coming up. And then Dyson Daniels, I have him 83 overall, essentially the number 24 point guard in the NBA if we're changing his positions there, which I think is probably where he's going to end up long term. If we did change him to the 2, same overall rating, but it is going to affect his position rank. He'd probably be like number 16 or so among the 2 guards. Which actually we'll get to the 2 guard rankings a little later because those are quite the inverse from the point guard rankings. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 82 overall. This is +2 from where 2K's got him at. I have him as the number 19 shooting guard in the NBA. So if he were coming off the bench, he would be essentially the top backup or one of the top backups in the league at the position. Zachary Risache, 79 overall. Number 36 small forward in the NBA. So a below average starter to be sure, one of the lower end starters I would say. And then we're going to see Luke Kennard and Vit Krejci. I have both of them at a 79 overall. These are both +4 from where the 2K rosters got them at. So Krejci, the number 37 small forward in the NBA. Kennard, the number 38 shooting guard in the NBA. And as mentioned, Risache, the number 37 small forward in the NBA. Now, Risache is the starter just kind of by default, like he was drafted the number 1 overall pick. But like in terms of his actual performance, Kennard or Vit Krejci could easily start over him. Like these guys are like basically anybody in a 79 overall range is realistically like a 7th to 8th man quality level of player. So like, yeah, Kennard in free agency generally makes like $11 million a year. Vit Krejci signed a bargain deal, but that was back when he was like a 73-ish overall level of player. Like he was just a third string, happy to be in the league, and he has since developed into a player who, realistically, given his three-point shooting prowess, probably should be starting over Risache. The only reason Risache is still starting mainly is just for like developmental purposes because he was the number 1 overall pick. I mean, he was drafted essentially to be, we knew this about him going in, that he wasn't really going to be a star. He was most likely just going to be a Nick Batum level of player, and that's kind of how things have played out so far. But I just wanted to really focus on this and distinguish. This is really one of the biggest separating factors between me and the 2K roster is I have my role players on the bench like much higher up, and this really creates a better sense of the hierarchy in terms of the NBA. Like rather than having everybody bunched up in like the 75 range, where it creates a lot more issues. Where like there should be more separation between these guys who are clearly like the 6th, 7th, 8th best guys on a team, shouldn't have the same ratings as guys who are like playing at the end of the rotation. As as with a guy with like Kennard, he's a higher valued player in free agency, generally getting the 10, $11 million a year, whereas these guys generally don't get that kind of value from opposing teams and whatnot. So let's head on over to the Orlando Magic now. They blew out the Sixers similarly, 144 to 103. Woof. They moved to 11-8 on the year. 9 Magic players in double figures in this one. The Magic offense is humming. 38 assists to 11 turnovers. 7th game without Paolo Banchero. They are now 5-2 without him. Similar situation with Trae Young, where much like Trae Young's defense was holding the team back, I think Banchero's offensive stylings also really hold the team back. Anthony Black had a career high 31 points in this one, 12 of 17 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3, 31 points only in 28 minutes. Jalen Suggs only played 16 minutes in this one. Obviously, they didn't need him to play much given the blowout nature of this game. He had 4 points and 11 assists in only those 16 minutes. Noah Penda had 10 points in 22 minutes. That's how much garbage time there was in this game. And Jet Howard, also a garbage time specialist, had 13 points in 18 minutes. And then just going over the Magic ratings that I have in the book, I essentially have 5 of their top 6. I don't have Wendell Carter's rating in yet. His 81-ish is fine. Probably a bunch of his attributes, though, that need to be adjusted. But, lower priority compared to some of the other guys on the team. I would say Tristan Da Silva is a player that I definitely need to get up in rating and probably need to drop Tyus Jones. So those will be the first 2 guys that I edit rather than like Wendell Carter. But Franz Wagner, 89 overall. That's a +3 from where 2K's got him at. I have him as the number 6 small forward in the NBA. Real quick, where does that rank conference-wise? As I didn't do that for every team. That is the number 2 small forward in the NBA. So probably going to make an all-star team, especially if Banchero is sidelined. He's missed the last 7 games. Franz hasn't missed any games really, so he would definitely get the all-star nod if the teams were announced today. Jalen Suggs, 87 overall. This is +4 from where 2K's got him at. I have him as the number 17 point guard in the NBA behind Trae Young. Just a really awesome 3-and-D level of guy. He's a young Drew Holiday. Shooting 72% on twos this season. 52% from the field overall, which is +11% from last season. 68% true shooting, which is +14% from last year. Also, his career was 54% last year. His career average is also 54 true shooting. So he's shooting the lights out right now. 20 of 23 on layups this year, which is 87%. He's doing that in kind of low volume, like only 2 or 3 attempts per 36. But just going to show just how super efficient he is from all areas of the court. He's averaging 28 minutes per game over his last 6 games. So the minutes restriction is starting to come off. He only, by comparison, in his first 7 games, He only played 20 minutes per game. So he's definitely getting up there. And then his assist rate is also a career high 30%, which is plus 8% from last year, which is also his career high. So he's definitely playmaking a lot more. And maybe another player who's just benefited from Banchero being out of the lineup. The and then just Desmond Bain. Sorry, finishing off the ratings that I have done for them. Desmond Bain, 84 overall. I did get around to getting his rating in. That is a +1 from where 2K's got him at. He's, despite his struggles, he's still the number 8 shooting guard in the NBA. And conference-wise, that would be. So Mitchell would be number 1, Hero number 2, and then Derek White and Desmond Bain. Pick your poison for the number 3 or number 4 shooting guard in the NBA. Derek White's also had his struggles offensively. So sorry, not 3 or 4 in the NBA. Number 3 or 4 in the Eastern Conference. So yeah, even though Bain has struggled, like he is a premium player at his position. And then Anthony Black, 80 overall. He is, again, that's +1 from where 2K's got him at. I have him as the number 34 point guard in the NBA. Still among the top half of like the backups. And he can definitely start for you in a pinch. He's basically a 6-man on this team. And yeah, his offensive game has been developing. His first 2 years he really struggled in that regard. So he's gotten, with Jalen Suggs not being able to play the back-to-backs, he's gotten chances with the starting group and is hopefully taking a permanent step forward offensively this year. Let's go on over to the 76ers. They dropped to 9-8 on the year. They've been faltering a little bit this year after getting off to a hot start. Joel Embiid missed his 7th game of the season. No Paul George in this one. Worth noting, Jared McCain had his second straight good game in this one. I actually didn't take notes on their box lines for this game. Man, I crashed out at like 1 a.m. last night. I was watching the Lakers-Clippers game. So bear with me as I just hop into their box score real quick to see, I was so focused on the Magic end of it. 20 points for Maxey, 7 of 15. Yeah, nothing really to actually take note of. And then Jared McCain had 15 points. Eric Gordon played what I assume is a season high, 22 minutes, which again, that's how much garbage time there was in this game. He had 10 points, was 4-4 from the field. But I'm not going to be running to boost his rating off of that or anything. Quentin Grimes, only 1 for 9 in this game, had 8 points. Drummond, only 3 points, 22 minutes. He did have 12 rebounds, but was 1 for 6 from the field, which is pretty dreadful for a center. And they weren't Drummond. Drummond only had 2 offensive rebounds in this game. Usually, that's how he'll get a lot of his offensive rebounds, is from like getting his own missed shots, but that did not appear to be the case in this game. Yeah, I guess not a ton of notes. So let's just hop onto the rating stuff. I've got 9 of their top 10 players rated. Quentin Grimes is the only guy in the top 10 for them that I don't have a rating update for. It's not really necessary. Like 81 is basically where he would land for me if I did his rating. Maxey, 92. Is a +2 from where 2K's got him at. I have him as the number 8 point guard in the NBA. Joel Embiid, 89 overall. That's -1 from where 2K's got him at. They decided they're just so stuck on Embiid has to be the highest rated Sixer. No. So I have him as a -1. Still the number 6 center in the NBA, but there are other players who, even without the availability concerns, have passed Embiid up. Paul George, 84 overall. This is actually +3 from where 2K's got him at. I kind of value some of his shot creation metrics a little higher than they do. He's been all right in the 3 games that he's played so far this year. But number 19 power forward in the NBA. This kind of speaks to how deep the position is at the top end. Recall that 84 overall for Desmond Bain had him as the number 8 shooting guard in the NBA and the number 4 in the Eastern Conference. So just goes to show like how how things how the rankings really shift depending on what position you play at. Kelly Oubre, 81 overall. That's +1 from where 2K's got him. I have him as the number 27 small forward in the NBA. So, he's still starting caliber, but you're kind of pushing the envelope a little bit at that point. And then VJ Edgecombe has really been struggling since his first week or so. He drops down to a 79 in my roster, -1. He's missed the last week or so with an injury, but he's the number 32 shooting guard in the NBA. Realistically, Quentin Grimes should be starting over him from like a talent perspective, but Edgecombe is the number 3 overall pick. Like similar situation with Zachary Risache. Like these guys are starting more for developmental reasons rather than like their on-court ability. But Andre Drummond, he's been a surprise. Was really struggling with injury last year, so he's had a little bit of a bounce back. 79 overall, number 33 center in the NBA. That's +1 from where 2K's got him at, but number 33 center, so like a below average starter. There are other backups that would be better starters than him, but you can't beat the price, which is like $5 million for essentially some Embiid insurance. And then Trenton Watford, he's played really well off the bench so far this year. 78 overall, +2 for him from 2K. I have him as the number 45 power forward. So you can look at number 45 as the midpoint for if 1 through 30 is like the starters, then 31 through 60 are the role players, right? So he's right at that midpoint of what your average role player power forward is going to be looking like. So just keep that in mind as we go through some of these ratings. That's part of my philosophy. And then Jared McCain, 76 overall. I have him as the number 64 point guard overall. Again, there's more talent at the point guard position than there is at other positions. I did not factor in his performance in this last game, so maybe that'll knock him up back to a 77. But he had been struggling physically, coming back from his injury. So it's let me actually see. Did I reduce his intangibles to get him down there? I did. So, I mean, maybe I can actually just remove this, his debuff from him, essentially, and this brings him back up to, like, a 79, which would be probably, like, 40-ish among backup, among point guards. So, like, among the better backups, but not a guy who really should be getting, like, starting consideration. Still has some weaknesses, like his playmaking, etc. But prior to that, I had him as a 64 point guard. That was probably going to get him at like 35-ish. No, probably 40 actually. And then Adem Bona, 75 overall. That's +2 from where 2K's got him at. They keep dropping him for some reason. I have him as the number 59 center. So again, 31 to 60 are your role players, right? So number 59, he's at the bottom half of what we would consider a role player, right? Essentially, you'd be happy with Bona as your third string center. You would be unhappy with him if he was your second string center. So fortunately, he is kind of a luxury for this Sixers team, given, normally he would be the third string if everybody's healthy. But of course, Embiid's never really healthy. So yeah, he is a little stretched as like if you are going to be using him as the core backup to an Andre Drummond. So that's somebody that, I don't understand why 2K's been dropping his rating so much, given that he is playing an important role for the team. Bonus, of course, missed the last week with an injury. Lakers, they moved to 13-4 on the year with a 135-118 win over the Clippers. Battle of LA. 5th win in a row for the Lakers. Luka Doncic was awesome in this one, close to another triple-double, 43 points, 9 rebounds, 13 assists, 14 of 28 from the field, 7 of 12 on threes, 8 of 11 from the free throw line, 38 minutes. He picked apart rookie Kobe Sanders all night. Austin Reeves, 31 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 11 of 16 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3, 7 of 7 from the free throw line, 35 minutes. His playmaking numbers are down with LeBron back especially, and so he's been looking for his shot more. He's essentially the number 2 scorer on this team behind Luka rather than LeBron. And LeBron's back. He played his third game and probably his best game statistically of the year so far. 25 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Hey, that's a LeBron line for sure. 9 for 15 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, 5 or 6 from the free throw line, 1 steal, 1 block, played 32 minutes. And then Rui Hashimura, 13 points, 6 of 9 from the field. He was efficient. He only got like 13 points off the bench in this one. Jackson Hayes, for what it's worth, started for DeAndre Ayton, and he played a good game. 8 points, 3 for 4 from the field, 30 minutes. Did not get killed by Ivica Zubac, so that's probably all you could really hope for from Hayes in this one. LeBron, we're going to focus in on him a little bit. Probably every game he plays, I'm going to be doing some type of like rating adjustment to him. 3 games, 96 minutes is his sample so far. I've got him down to a 92 overall, -1 from the last time we checked in, and then -2 from where 2K's got him. LeBron on the year, 59 true shooting percentage on 23% usage. That last year was 60 and 30. I have him down at a 90 layup minus. I essentially had this maxed out before. 7 to 12 on layups this year, 57%, but assisted on 57% of those, and then he's taking 4.5 field goal attempts per 36 minutes in terms of layups. Last year, by comparison, 64% on his layups. He was assisted on only 41% of them, so 16% less. And then he was higher volume as well, 5.7 field goal attempts per 36 minutes. So I think he's smoked a couple ones that he normally would hit, so I think it just makes sense to not have him maxed out. Like 90 is fine. I mean, based on his current production, that's actually closer to like an 85. So, keep an eye on it. He's still solid as a finisher, but he's not like an elite Giannis, undeniable level of finisher, also similar to like a Luka on his own team. Or Austin Reeves. I would say Austin Reeves is probably a better finisher than LeBron at this point as well, at least as in terms of his layup ability. As LeBron, I did also, I dropped his dunk rating in the last one, but based on what he's doing so far, where is the dunk rating? I did bring, it's right next to layup. I did bring him back up to an 80. Right now, he's essentially taking 2 dunks per game. Last year, he was dunking once a game. So he's still getting out in transition, LeBron is. Players like Reeves and Luka, who are able to push the ball up to LeBron, essentially allow him to be a more of a finisher in transition. And then his 3-ball, I dropped this by 3 points. He's 4 of 12 on 3 this year, 33%. But more concerning to me is are his other factors. He's been assisted on 100% of those threes, and then only 4.5 field goal attempts per 36 minutes. So his shot creation and his shot volume, bear those numbers in mind. Last year, he shot 38% from 3. So sure, his percentage is lower right now, but I don't really care about that. 68 assist percentage. He was assisted on 7. He created his own shot 3 out of 10 times from 3. Right now, he hasn't created any. 5.8 field goal attempts per 36 minutes as well. So he's shooting a higher volume. So basically, shooting a lot more off the dribble back then as opposed to now. So that's probably going to be a good thing overall for his shooting percentage. But, so there's certain. So let's put a pin in all of that. It's still way too small of a sample for me to really make adjustments. But I am looking at a lot of that. Some of his shooting badges certainly could go down. Like, where is Shifty Shooter? I have a bronze shift. I can't remember. Maybe I already did drop his Shifty Shooter. I feel like this might have been a silver prior. But if he's not creating shots off the dribble, if he's not taking contested shots, I'm sure, silver Deadeye, some of these badges just might go down a grade. And if they go down a grade, that might knock him from a 92 to a 91 to a 90. We'll see. But then the other thing I noticed during this game is, LeBron hasn't been rebounding at the same rate that he typically does. Obviously, he plays with Luka Doncic, who is a rebound whore. He's right now at a 15% defensive rebound percentage, which is 6% less than last year. So I did drop this 5 points. It seems like we're probably going to be dropping it just a little further. 15% would normally be like a 63 rating, so certainly has a little bit of a ways to go. This would essentially be the worst rebounding season for LeBron outside of his rookie year when he was really like the point guard of his team. Um, but what I really noticed was his defense. I dropped this 5 points. Um, I'm starting to think that this might even go lower. LeBron switched onto Harden at one point in this game. He was like really excited to guard him, and then Harden just went right by him. And Harden's not exactly the fastest player either anymore. This is probably where the sciatica hurts LeBron the most. He can still run a straight line in transition, but he can't move his hips at all. Like literally, that's where the sciatica, it's like your lower back, like hip region. So yeah, that's probably going to affect his mobility a lot on defense. So I've got him with a 70 perimeter defense. Still, he's not going to commit a lot of fouls and stuff. He's still a high IQ defender. So maybe it actually would make more sense for me to drop. I think I already dropped his agility rating. I can't remember if that's what I had him on him last year. That's a rating that's been declining for him the last couple of years. I think 75 is where I had on him last year. That might drop down to like a 70, for example, if it looks like he just can't stay in front of anybody anymore. Wait and see. It's only been 3 games, and maybe he'll get healthier as the year goes on. And then we finally got, now that he has 3 games under his belt, we finally have some synergy play type data because you need 10 possessions for that data to pop up. So transition so far is his only synergy play type. Through 3 games, he's had 11 transition possessions, 4.1 per 36 minutes. That's actually one fewer than last year when he was 5.1 per 36 in transition. So I mean, he may have slowed down just a tick as well. But what the main takeaway for that is that means he has 9 or fewer possessions in everything else. So because he hasn't qualified, he doesn't have that 10 possession minimum for any of the other play types. So 9 possessions, let's assume that he had 9 possessions in all of his other play types. The max that his rate would be 3.4 per 36. So just factoring in some things like I use this to determine like my ball handle rating. So last year, LeBron, 4.4 pick and rolls and 4.1 isolations per 36 minutes. So total, 8.5. The most that could possibly be, if he had 9 in pick and rolls and 9 in isos, the most that could possibly be is 6.8. So he's taking, at the very least, 2 fewer on-ball possessions per game right now. So, that, again, it's something that just is going to factor into his ratings, his badges. He has a lesser offensive role on the ball this year than he ever has at really any other point of his career. So that is essentially going to affect how we rate him as we move forward through this year. Now, diving in on the rest of the Lakers, I only have 4 ratings in on this team, as I've essentially had to give more of a focus to the top guys on the team, specifically now LeBron, but Luka, he had a down year last year, so we've had to really focus in on him to, now that he's skinny Luka, I've had to check in on him a lot. And then Austin Reeves, likewise, in the middle of a breakout season, had a couple big games where Luka was sidelined, where he dropped 40 points, had some game winners. So we've had to check in on the top 3 guys on this team quite a bit. So I haven't gotten to show a ton of love to the some of the role players on this team compared to other teams that we've gone through so far. So Luka, 97 overall, no change from 2K. I've got him as the number 2 point guard in the NBA. LeBron, even though he's a -2 from where 2K's got him at, I still have him as the number 1 small forward in the NBA. Not nearly at the levels of his, where he was 10 years ago, but even at a 92, still the top small forward in the NBA. That's also in part because other small forwards who have typically been atop the list, like Kawhi, KD, etc., they've also gotten older and declined alongside him. And no other small forwards, aside from like Jalen Williams, of OKC have really stepped forward to move into that space. It's mostly been power forwards who are like the top forwards on their teams, which we'll see in we see reflected with like Jalen Johnson, etc. Austin Reeves, he's doesn't drop. He goes up to an 89 overall, +1 from where 2K's got him at. I have him as the number 3 shooting guard in the NBA. The shooting guard position is so, we saw this with Bane. Like, there's basically 2 all NBA guys in the league. In Donovan Mitchell and Anthony Edwards are the 2 guys who I have in, like, well, really, like, MVP conversation at 95, like the low end of that. But essentially like all NBA, because there's no other shooting guards who I have in the 90s except for Mitchell and Edwards. So Reeves is the closest thing to that at an 89. The only other shooting guard that I have over an 85 overall rating, or I guess above 84, like in that 85 to 89 range, aside from Austin Reeves, is Tyler Hero. So those are your top 4 2 guards in the NBA, and there's a huge drop off after that. So that's such a huge. Zach LaVine is another player who like falls into this range. A lot of shooting guards just like max out in that. There's a ton of shooting guards who, there's guys who are 79 overall. Like there's probably 10 guys who are 79 overall starting for their teams. Shooting guard in general is just kind of the least important of all of the starting positions, which kind of contrasts with the point guard position. As point guard has become essentially the star player position of the NBA, the off guard position with the 2 guard is essentially more of like the complementary piece for them. So it's very rare for a team, especially like the Lakers, where they have a star point guard in Luka. Normally that team would have like a 3-and-D type of player next to Reeves, but instead they have like another ball handling scorer next to him. So on top of another ball handling scorer in LeBron. That's why LeBron's probably just taking in general a smaller offensive role and should be focusing more on defense, but I don't know if he physically can. We'll see as the year goes on. DeAndre Ayton missed this game due to, I think he sprained his knee or had a knee contusion, so he's going to be out probably the next couple. But I've got him up to an 83 overall. Right next to Alex Sarr as like the number 19 center in the NBA. He's top 20-ish. He's fine as a starter, but he's not like a star or anything, but certainly good enough that he shouldn't be coming off the bench for really most teams. I think it's pretty clear that Portland, whatever the vibes were in Portland, it wasn't it, and they probably gave up on him in general. Obviously, his contract kind of made him untenable, but at making $8 million or whatever a year, pretty solid ad for a team. And then let's finish off with the Clippers. They dropped to 5-13 on the year. Harden 29 points, 9 assists in this one. Kawhi Leonard 19 points. John Collins and Chris Dunn were really solid from 3, 18 points, 4 of 6 from 3 for Collins. Chris Dunn 19 points, 3 of 6 from 3. Ivica Zubac had a double-double, 10 points, 10 rebounds. But he was only 5 of 12 from the field in this one in 37 minutes. Very disappointing showing with DeAndre Ayton out. But I think this was just a focus for the Lakers. Like, they were very content to give up threes to Collins and Dunn in that first half in order to stay home on Zoo and not let him get involved, essentially. They essentially turned him into more of like a playmaker in that first half. Some subpar shooters hit some open shots. It's going to happen. But so the Clippers shot 57% from the field and 10-20 from 3 in the first half. But then in that second half, they essentially cooled off, hit only 46% from the field, 3 for 15 from 3 in that second half. Worth noting, Brook Lopez was a DNP coach's decision in this one. They essentially went with John Collins as the backup 5. Chris Paul is back in the rotation. So I did swap back Kobe Sanders' position. He's kind of been backing up Kawhi Leonard for the most part. During the first substitution, Zoo, Kawhi, and Dunn checked out, right? So Zoo checks out, and then Kobe Brown, Batum, and Sanders check in. So we've got Zoo. Collins essentially moves up. We've got Leonard in for Batum. And then Kobe Brown checks in at the 4. So with Dunn checking out, it is Sanders essentially playing the 2. So this is the Collins and Harden stayed in the game. So this was the lineup that they went with, right? So right off the bat, like, so 2K, incredulously, they changed Kobe Brown's position to small forward in this roster. I think they somehow got tripped up by this like rotation. Like they forgot that Nick Batum is a natural small forward somehow. I know he's played the 4 for like the last couple of years, but I mean he played most of his career as a 3, and he had already been. This is again why I go through lineup data and substitution data to see like who guys are checking in for, etc. So the 2K's got like 6 guys at small forward for whatever reason because they decided to make Kobe Brown one. This was essentially their the lineup that they went with Kawhi out, right? So I did change Sanders' position to small forward though rather than shooting guard, as I'm going to go through. Like Sanders is one of the rare players who actually legitimately plays 3 positions. His top 10 position data, which I get from basketballreference.com, he plays next to Harden in 6 and Chris Paul in 1. So he's not a point guard in 7 of his lineups, but he is the point guard in 3 of his lineups. He's a small forward in his number 1 lineup, which is Harden, Dunn, Sanders, Collins, Zubats, 62 minutes, i.e. when he was starting for Kawhi Leonard, right, in those 2 games. He's also a small forward essentially in his number 3, 4, 5, and 7 lineups. So 5 out of his top 10 have his lineups. So, sure, I'm going to make his primary position small forward. His number 2 position is point guard. He's in 3 of those lineups. It is his number 2 lineup, 15 minutes. Sanders, Bogdanovich, Jordan Miller, Nick Batum, and then Zubats. And then also his number 9 and number 10 lineups. Whereas shooting guard, it's his number 6 and number 8 lineups, but i.e. also where he played in this game. So Paul, Sanders, Kawhi, Batum, Zoo is one of those lineups, and then Harden, Sanders, Batum, Brown, Collins, which I just showed you, is the other lineup. So literally 3 position player, one of the few. So even though he played shooting guard in this game, I weirdly enough just have his position as small forward and point guard because that's essentially where he's going to end up. The tertiary position used to exist in 2K. It's not really necessary in this instance though because based on how the rotations are set up, so I've got 2 players that are injured here that normally would get those 2 guard minutes that Kobe Sanders instead got, right? So we head into rotations. We're going to head into the rotation timeline. And you're going to see because I have only a 10-man rotation and there's no 2 guard, Cam Christie is not rated high enough to be in the rotation. So you're going to see Sanders splitting his minutes at small forward point guard. Now, unfortunately, the game doesn't quite understand. You see Chris Paul as point guard and then switches over to shooting guard, even though shooting guard is not among his listed positions. So it's not like an exact science, but the point is he is sharing the court with Kobe Sanders. I don't understand why they can't what the AI's logic is there. It should at least in terms of my thinking be prioritizing Chris Paul as the point guard since it's his primary position, and just like Kobe Sanders rock out as like the. Neither one has that as their secondary position. Let me actually see if I do change his secondary, whether or not that does solve itself. Because sometimes that position thing is just kind of the rotation map is kind of weird. Let's do that. Adjust and then hop back into timeline. Okay, that actually does solve it. So at least if they're going to be running their rotation like that, that would make a little bit of sense. So that's essentially how I am determining positions on this team, though. Let's hop into the ratings, if I can get out of the screen. All right, so I've got 7 Clippers ratings done. James Harden, 93 overall, +4 from where 2K's got him at. A lot of people complained that he should have been a 90 based on that in the last roster update. I definitely agree with that. So I have him +4 from where 2K's got him, the number 5 point guard in the NBA. 91 overall for Kawhi Leonard, -1 from where 2K's got him at. Some of his athleticism ratings are still really high for a player who's like 34 years old. I have him as the number 2 small forward in the NBA. Even though I dropped LeBron and Kawhi, they are still tops among their position. Ivica Zubac's 87, +1 overall. He's the number 8 center in the NBA, kind of at the bottom end of like all-star consideration for either conference. John Collins, 79, is a +1 from where 2K's got him at. Again, similar to like Chris Middleton, who I have as number 34, I believe. 79 overall is like the borderline for, it's a below average starter. He really shouldn't be starting based on how he's played this year. He did have a good game in this one. We'll see if he's able to keep it going. Normally he would be in the lower 80s, just has really underperformed so far this year. Bradley Beal, 78, which is a +1 from where 2K's got him at. The number 40 shooting guard in the NBA. How the mighty have fallen. So he would probably, if he's your starting shooting guard next year, you're actually probably unhappy, at least based on how he performed last year. Really should be more of a backup moving forward. And then Brook Lopez, I've got him at 77 overall, the number 47 center in the NBA. Again, and how the mighty have fallen. He was a starter last year. I believe I had him at like an 82 or 81-ish overall. So he went from being a starting level guy to now he's in like the bottom half of backup centers. And then Kobe Sanders, I've got him up at a 74 overall, +4 from where 2K's got him at. He's like roughly like the number 66-ish small forward in the NBA. A 74 is like the top end of the quote-unquote reserves tier, which is like so he's the high point of that tier, right? So reserves is basically your third strings who end up on like camp contracts, like former Clipper Amir Coffey, for example, or current Clipper Jordan Miller, who is bouncing between standard deals and two-ways. Like he's overqualified for a two-way. It just so happens that that's like the only way that they can get him on the roster because there are only so many standard spots. Usually there's a couple players who are on standard spots, like a Cam Christie, who should really be on two ways. Obviously, like Bronny James stands out as a guy who, under normal circumstances, he would be on a two-way. Obviously, and Christie is one of those guys drafted 46. Usually guys drafted in that range end up on two ways. Will Richards, another player who ended up on a standard contract rather than a two-way, but has certainly outplayed it as well. So Sanders will probably end up on a standard contract at some point. Similar to Jordan Miller, it's going to be a non-guarantee, and we'll see based on his performance moving forward. This is kind of like the route that like these third strings kind of have to go through to make their way through their career. Now, it's worth noting that because Brook Lopez was a DNP-CD in this game, right? If he's going to be out of the rotation going forward, all I have to do, because I have when you have like the critical mass of how like my rating philosophy works, like the more players that you have edited on the team, like so Lopez is out of the rotation, right? I'm just going to drop his intangibles all the way down to the minimum, and that's going to drop him down to 74 overall, right? So this would actually, under normal circumstances, knock him out of the rotation. He's got the same rating as a Kobe Sanders. Kobe Brown right now is playing over Brook Lopez in the rotation. So Kobe Brown actually is like my highest priority Clipper edit at the moment because we need to get his rating above Brook Lopez so that he plays in the rotation. And then if we just knocked bench depth down to 9, if we got Sanders, if we got Brown up to like let's say Kobe and let's say Sanders is 75 and then Brown is 74, that would essentially knock Brook Lopez out of the rotation. So this is essentially why like I do my rosters and overall ratings the way that I do, because whether or not a player like Brook Lopez, if he's out of the rotation, I don't need to like review his skill set as a player and spend time like overthinking like, oh, did he get worse at this? All I have to do is just move a control lever. and then it's going to get him out of the rotation without like overthinking it. Sometimes teams decide to go in a different direction. Like the Clippers have decided that they would prefer John Collins' athleticism over Brook Lopez. So for you to get that player out of the rotation, you essentially just need to drop him down arbitrarily with that little lever. So that's really how I use intangibles in that roster. Everything's coming together. I've got essentially like the top 5 guys on each team rated so far. Hope you guys enjoyed this kind of like deeper look at each of these teams. I'm not going to always focus in like this, but I had some free time and there was a light schedule for games, in part due to like the Thanksgiving holiday coming up. There's going to be a bigger slate tonight rather with games. So I'm going to try to knock that out. There are no games on Thursday, so depending on how work for me today goes, how I'm feeling at night. I do have to work on Thanksgiving. It's going to be actually super busy for me that day. The video may be a little delayed. We'll see. We'll see. But otherwise, I hope you guys enjoying the content so far this year. I've not missed a single day of the NBA. Thanks for coming along with me on this roster journey. And it'll be interesting to see where things are by the end of the season because things are, for me, I'm pretty happy with the direction that things are going with the roster and how I've been able to keep track, just keep up with the NBA on a daily basis. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Telebit Outros. Bye.